Vocal chopping has been in vogue in pop music for a while now. I'm pretty sure anyone seeing this video or hearing it on the Studio Happy Hour podcast is familiar with the sound. You take a syllable or a phrase from a vocal take and drop it into a sampler and play it like a melody, typically as a post-chorus hook if you want to kind of get formulaic about it. Some more recent examples of using vocal chopping in pop tunes include the hook from Major Laser's Lean On, a longer phrase is chopped up into the intro of Sia's Elastic Heart. Or there's even some breathy ad-libs that are kind of chopped into the main riff of Hands to Myself by Selena Gomez.
Keep my hands to myself.
Now, before you get all pious on your musicality soapbox, I want to let you know who the father of this idea of breaking up a musical phrase and manipulating it came from. George Martin. No, not Game of Thrones George R.R. Martin, Sir George Martin. You know, the producer of the Beatles. So here's Sir George Martin talking about it to BBC Radio 6 on their producer's show.
Way back in the 60s, you didn't have any samplers and you didn't have any gimmicks that you have today. You had just a bit of tape and a machine that went on. So if you wanted to create something new, you had to be a little bit inventive. And I often used to select the sounds of things, and quite often from recordings, which of course were copyright, and you couldn't use them because the tunes are there. So I used to destroy the tunes by putting them into little pieces and shuffling them around a bit and then putting them back together again. And you would then still get the sound of the original recording, but not the tunes. And that was extremely helpful to create an atmosphere, particularly if you pasted in the back of your panorama of sound. And it was just another tool, it was just another bit of painting.
So not only did George Martin and the Beatles use a chopping technique for creative effect, they did it expressly to avoid copyright issues. So, members of the Marvin Gaye family, you can take that one to court. So you've probably seen chopping done, or can mentally figure it out pretty easily. You find a syllable or a phrase you want to use, you export or drag it into your sampler of choice, you map it and tune it if you want to, and you play away. That's easy to do. However, creatively, I find this process a little flat. Sometimes one sample can work, but what if you want more than one sample to work with, and you don't want to burn the clock hunting through your vocal to chop just the right selections? What if the sampler that you're using doesn't fix, or sometimes provide, the audio artifacts that you want to remove or incorporate? In Ableton Live 9, I put a really simple spin on the whole single sample vocal chopping thing, and it really didn't take that long to prepare, and I think it's a little bit more creative and much more playable idea from the start. So first things first, just so you can see the process from start to finish, I have a studio acapella of Calvin Harris's Outside tune featuring Elle Goulding up here. I already have a sample selected, and I'll drop it into Ableton Sampler and play it against this other song demo I have in the session so you can kind of get some context. The opening phrase ends with the word done.
Look at what you've done.
So let's separate done from the phrase and consolidate it, that's Command J, so that we're not dragging the whole file into our sampler. I'll create a new MIDI track, that's Shift Command T, and drag an instance of sampler into the new MIDI track we just created, and then drag our done note into sampler. Cool, it works. Okay, now we'll play it against this demo. Now, Ableton Sampler is great, and it can do all of the typical things that samplers do, velocity crossfades and key mapping and some pretty complex looping, etc. But it also suffers in that it does what samplers do when they go to play different pitches of the same sample. It adjusts the speed of the playback. Sometimes that's a desirable thing, and sometimes it's not at all. For the most part, I want my vocal chops to retain tempo continuity, which is why I want to use Ableton Simpler instead. The main